All right, folks, I've got Suzanne Jackson with Market Master joining me once again on the What the Futures podcast. Suzanne, how's the week going?
It is sure going. It's a shocker of yet another week going into harvest.
You guys, you have a huge reach, in Western Canada. Anything harvest-wise kind of standing out for you early on in the south or up in the north? Quality, yield, anything kind of standing out for 2025?
It's big in my backyard here. So what I mean by that is everybody's looking out and saying, oh man, crops are phenomenal. Or, hey, it is so bad this year. What a write-off. So hard to imagine that there is areas that are really hard hit with the drought this year, especially when you're in an area such as like Bird, Beaumont, South Edmonton area, and it is so wet. And we are seeing, a little excessive water this week, but you get up to areas like, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and they're in really bad condition.
Brutal dry there. Yeah.
Oh, crazy. And then you get down like Lethbridge area and they're having phenomenal crops this year. Castor, Consort, best crops they'll see in a lot of years, but it's a very big bit in my backyard here where people can't believe how extremes we're seeing across the whole province because it is so varied. And that's affecting a lot of people and how they're marketing too, because guys who are in areas where it is hit really hard with the drought are like, well, prices are just horrible because, we're not getting a crop this year and it's going to be so bad. And then you got other guys who are like, wow, oh my God, like this, I hate to say great crop is going to affect the markets. And it is, but it's a very big year where people can't understand how it is on somebody else's property. So it's going to be one to see how the final yields do come in across the province.
I look at the growing season and obviously the northern drought, like northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, northern Alberta. And then when you back that off, go south, just the rain events, even on our own farm, we have such variability this year because one area of the farm had 4 inches of rain. The other area had 1.5 inches. And on the same farm, not that far apart, but the storms were kind of weird in 2025. So tough year for crop marketing as well. I've been chatting with buyers at the line companies and obviously seeing social media, chatting with farmers. What sense do you have here from a sales side? Like have people turned the corner and been sellers of this market? Do you think there's a lot done? Do you think there's very little done, somewhere in between? What temperature, what gauge do you have on that?
A personal opinion completely. So I don't want anyone to take it, with any sense of whatever. But it's a very undersold crop. Watching how we've been marketing ourselves as well as discussing with buyers and sellers, there's not a lot of marketing done like compared to usual years. Understandable from a farmer's aspect when it's, May 30th and we're seeing it's 30 degrees out. What do you want to do, right? How can you want a forward crop when you think you're going into a great drought year again? But there wasn't a lot of forward contracting done. And even now, farmers have not been aggressively marketing throughout the summer. And now we're seeing that we're coming into this year and there hasn't been a lot of forward marketing done. And now we're seeing prices kind of start to reflect that. As we're getting further into the season, prices have backed off and it's now getting what's going to be next. We're going to a big barley season for when people want to move it off the combine, and we've got stuff coming in from the U.S. We've got corn and barley and wheat coming in from the U.S. already, and it's affecting the markets. And next week, when people start to combine and see their yields and bin space requirements, how is that going to affect the market next? We've got canola that's hasn't even been thrashed yet, and people are like, oh well, canola prices are pretty bad. I have a very personal opinion on that. I was just looking back a year ago, canola was only $12.20. So comparative to a year ago, I hate to say we're over almost $2 a bushel better than where we were. So I don't know if personally I would be making moves in some of these markets before we see the influx of crop coming. But there hasn't been a lot done. And so it's going to be interesting as we do progress through harvest, and we might see some bin space issues in some areas. And buyers have been buying stuff elsewhere, coming in from the States or coming in from other areas, that there may be an influx of crop coming, or they haven't, like we know, made a lot of sales based on what has been done because they're waiting for the crop to come. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next 3-4 weeks brings.
Yeah, 100%. I got a couple follow-ups here, but I was looking at canola year over year as well. And so a 12-month period, we're up 10.5% compared to last year. All right, 61.90 a ton is what they're quoting here. On the year, just this year, 2025, we're up 7.2% right now, up $44 a ton. So even January 1 to now. And so, yeah, we've lost over the last month 7%, but still tracking better than this time last year by a fair margin. So do you think that, this is a loaded question for you, but I want to ask it anyway, but do you think that with the lack of selling that there are premiums coming from buyers in a weird way as harvest gets rolling? Like, are you seeing a little chance on anything premium wise, or do you think it's the farmer's going to be pulling the trigger here instead?
We had been seeing them for the last 3 weeks. So buyers had been short waiting for new crop. So for the past couple weeks, we've seen those premiums on barley, those premiums on wheat for rush movement. So if you had stuff in the bin, barley was still going down, but was at a premium to new crop. So, for example, today, if you have barley in the bin and you can ship it next week, it's $5 picked up, kind of like Hay Lakes area, Camrose area. But if you're shipping it in September, it's $4.87. So there's a 20-cent premium for old crop, but it's only because you can ship it in the next week. So there are those little premiums to be had on those, transition crop between old and new crop. And some places did require a 2-week sweat period on old crop sometimes. So there are some premiums to be had on old crop, but it's still relative to the new crop market. So is it a premium? Yes.
Yeah. It's a 3 weeks ago, it wasn't, but now it kind of is a small one. Like, yeah.
Relative, right?
Yeah. It's like I said this earlier this week. I did a live on Tuesday night, but I said something along the lines of like 750 wheat. Like you might look at that and grab your barf bucket and say that's disgusting. But then if it goes to 650 or 675 and in October you get offered 750, you sit there and say, oh, wow, thank goodness I got back to 750, right? I'm going to take some of that now. So it's just sad how it changes. It evolves and changes over time, but it does. And people get used to a certain level or a certain price, and then the emotions change. And then what looked nasty is now you're thrilled that you're back there and making the sale. So, yeah. Is there any crops or undersold farms a little more undersold than past years? I think that's a fair comment out there. I still think we have the hangover of 2021 of that drought year impacting our crop marketing decisions, and then we relive that for 6 weeks here or 8 weeks, or if you farm in Bonnyville or Cold Lake, you've lived it all year, right, with the drought. So it caused us to stay patient and not do much. Do you think as harvest starts up here that farmers, do you think they're throwing it in the bin and locking it up, or do you think that there's going to be some cash flow needs that need to be met?
It's a hard one. I've had this discussion with quite a few buyers. One crop I do think that is probably undersold is canola. And I don't think the China situation is helping. I think that's put a very negative spin on where pricing is, even though realistically it's high. And I hate saying that because I know I'm going to get a lot of negative flack on that. But realistically, we're higher than we were last year. And, $14 when you look at historical pricing is not horrible. So the China thing is not helping because people are seeing it and taking it as a very negative thought on the canola price. So we're not selling because we've got a negative connotation on something that's actually at a historical decent price. So there hasn't been a lot of moves made, even though we're talking about something that's decent. So I think that's very undersold right now, and it's not helping because we're going to go into a crop that's actually not bad yields in quite a few areas as long as we get it off. I hate saying that because weather patterns, I think it was 2017, we did see a very similar weather pattern. I hate bringing that up at all because if anyone remembers 2017, we did a lot of spring combining. Pretty sure it's
I forgot
2017.
about that.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm next fearful of is, what happens if, right? So that's always sticking in the back of my mind is the year where we did millions of acres of spring combining. So that's the only thing that I'm worried about right now is that if you're contracting canola and we go into that. So otherwise, wheat's another big one. There hasn't been a lot of plays made in wheat because people were like, oh, $8.50 wheat, that's a horrible price too. But now I think a lot of people wish they would have made plays on $8.50 wheat as well.
Yeah.
Barley, people were actually marketing barley. We did, I don't want to say like thousands of tons of barley, but people were marketing barley when it was at $5.50, $5.40 because it was a decent price. Historically, it's a pretty average price. It's good. So they were making plays on that. And oats, because there was some good options on oats and people were comparing it to, what prices were out there for wheat and stuff like that. So those two, I think people were making more plays on. And peas, I think lately more people are making plays on peas. So I think wheat and canola were the more undersold crops.
So do you think when you talk to the buy side of this, the buyer side, are they just waiting for it to come now and saying, hey, like it's going to come, the crops across the prairies are average? And just going back to your canola comment, I read this morning from Oil World, they raised their canola estimate from, I think it was 18.7 to 19.4 million tons of production. Not a scary number by any means, but they did raise it they quoted or cited good weather in Alberta as the biggest reason. Are the buyers going to sit back here and say, I've got space and I'm going to do the buying? Or do you think that we'll see another run up in some type of specials or opportunities or something to grab these tons?
I don't think we'll see anybody making any plays anytime soon. And not only because we've got harvest and cyclic markets, they don't typically make any plays at this time. We don't see much happen between now and November. If you look back at markets anytime over this usual period, it doesn't happen. But also we've got so many other factors at play in politics as well that just why? Peas, there's nowhere for it to go. We don't have any other outlets. China doesn't want them. India's got peas. Wheat, we're not having any other great relations or anything politically to help it move right now, right? So just why? What's the point of them going out and making any great plays at this point?
Okay. So from the buyer side, you think that there's not any real magic there at this time, maybe later on this winter, but right at this time, no real magic coming from the buyer side. Is that fair?
Yes, unless you know something different.
I think there, like you said, over the last 3 weeks, there's been things, but the chase is on for me. Like the chase has been on, and I hate chasing these markets low. But I got a great question from a farmer the other day about what percent sold should I be on yellow peas, and I said 100. Like 100%. And at the time, the markets were right around 9 in his area. And I said, that's 100 for me, like be 100. The markets will face their harvest pressure and there'll be some type of recovery, but I don't like the politics involved right now. I don't like the thought around more production out there. I don't get the warm and fuzzy, so I'd rather get that gone at that price value. And so the chase is on, and wheat as well. I had to eat my pride with some farms and eat my words a bit and say, hey, I didn't want to get too aggressive at 8, but how about 750? And these are my reasons why. Like, I've been selling some of this wheat. Like, I've been doing some stuff here as offers have popped up. I've been trying to stay on them and stay somewhat aggressive on them and stay ahead, because in 3 to 4 weeks, it gets darker. It just gets darker, and we will work out of it, folks. We do. But when and to what level and how does that look? I don't know. So, all right, Suzanne. Well, I think we did a good job of covering off 2025 here so far. Before we switch to 2026, though, any crop out there that you deal with that you're like, hey, this one is the, if everyone knew this in the spring, this is the silver bullet one. Is there any that stand out from a price perspective or stability where you're like, this crop's going to do okay?
Flax seems to be one that people are still buying more aggressively. And seems to be holding, and that might have a little bit of a run in it because there's still people quite aggressively looking for flax. And biggest thing to remember with flax, though, is it's a cyclic market. It ships from October till like the end of November and then drops off, usually, if it follows cyclic markets. And then it may come back in the spring. So just keep that in mind if you're a flax grower. We do see it kind of follow that same market every year because it's going out to Europe and all those kind of things that happens typically, but can change. And then lentils have been pretty good too.
Okay.
They've been holding fairly steady comparative to other pulse crops. They may also drop off, but they've been steadier than the other ones.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see if they do change from, going to be unsteady like every other pulse crop, but they've been a little bit of a brighter spot.
Well, and I hope those flax farms out there, I hope they, I hope this growing season was friendly to them, because, man, if you can pull off some of these decent yields, this flax yields have been getting a little greater the last couple of years, and multiply that by the price per bushel being offered out there. Yeah, you're paying the bills. I know flax might be a little more work, but definitely paying the bills. So, okay, perfect. Now, I've been bugging you about values for the fall of 2026. Farmers are trying to make fertilizer decisions, which impacts some rotation decisions as well. That's a hot topic of mine. I'm always trying to think far out, as far out as I can. So I said, Suzanne, what's going on for fall of 2026? Give me a bunch of bids. I want to do a crop ranking and I want to see what's going on. And what did you get back, Suzanne? What came back from your buyers?
Wow. Well, I think it's going to go lower this year. So before I start to price next year, I want to see how far it goes down. So that was a shocker, because usually people aren't as concerned about how low it's going to go before next year. Even like looking at peas and stuff, we can usually start to get buyers interested because they want to get acres on for next year. And typically when we start to see new crop pricing will be November. So we're not that far really from November. And we'll start to get new crop pricing in November, and that'll be oats, peas, lentils, flax. We'll start to get new crop pricing for next crop year in a couple months. So people are already starting to think about it. We'll have them for shows coming up at that time. And this year it was, I want to see how low this is going to go before I start thinking about it. Not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, no, not a good sign. And obviously that's, just, I don't want to say isolated comments, but it's an opinion and it's comments out there, and that's fine. But then when you start to layer in some charts of other commodities, so, commodities that are trading, and you start to talk to people that, maybe are technical traders instead of, fundamental traders. And then you start to see, well, oh boy, like that chart doesn't look great. That chart is in a downtrend, continues to be in a downtrend. When does that end, right? Or the technical folks looking at certain crops saying, geez, I think there's another X amount % of downside here in some of these crops. Like, again, you hope everybody's wrong. You get the rally of a century and away you go. But, the trend right now is they always say the trend is your friend. And at this moment, it doesn't feel like it, but it's trending lower. So yeah, I was hoping you'd come back to me with, values that showed carry in the market, that showed, some willingness to own some acres for next year. I was trying to be optimistic and didn't quite get it yet. So that's all right. We'll get it, but not quite yet.
The biggest thing is nobody can predict any of this. If a couple of years ago we said that a war was going to start in Ukraine, nobody would have agreed with you. Yeah. So wilder factors have determined markets than what we ever can. So we'll see.
And like I always go back to you have to grow it, right? And so, you might it might be doom and gloom, but yet when you get a production hiccup or an issue somewhere around the globe, that moves markets in a hurry. And even local markets, you get a localized drought or localized weather event. Like, geez, I was listening to the ag hour here on 840 CFCW, and I believe the weather forecast talked about frost, right? Like things happen. So again, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater for next year yet, but it's you still have to grow it. And I like buying some fertilizer. I like selling some crop. I like building a margin plan, and I just can't quite do that yet. I can do it on canola. I can do it on wheat, and I was hoping to do it on 10 other crops. Just can't quite get there yet. So patience it is, right? Patience it is. All right, Suzanne, you're going to join us in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. You're going to take the plane or the drive over to Moose Jaw, which we appreciate. Of course, conference tickets. We're down to about 34 pairs of tickets to go. So it's I don't know when we'll say sold out. Last year was late October. I feel it might be a bit sooner than that this year, but look forward to you joining us in Moose Jaw. I get asked all the time from farmers, what skill level do I need to have to attend this conference? And my answer is, this is for everyone. We have keynote speakers talking about big subjects. We have breakout sessions, and I would consider breakout sessions with different categories, different skill levels. And Suzanne, you're someone who came into the industry from outside, not from the farm per se, and came into it. And so what are you going to talk about when we see you in Moose Jaw in December?
So because I did not come from the farming industry, I actually didn't even know what a grain broker was when I started this job. So I want to sit and chat with people about things they should know when they're booking grain. So we do all day, we talk about with farmers and buyers, how should we market grain? And basically like what should you look for in a contract? What should you look for in opportunities? And we want to get back to the basics of that. When you're looking at a contract, there's a lot of gibberish in that. So what are the differences in contracts between companies? What do you need to kind of protect yourself? But then also when you're working with a buyer, how can we make those work better for farmers too? So we work closely with a lot of our companies and be like, hey, you know what? I get that this is what you're looking for, but here's what farmers are looking for too. So we do work closely with our buyers and be like, this is why farmers are not happy with you. How can we build this into a better relationship? So we have quite a few buyers that, we work with and help them to understand what people are looking for in the industry, but as well as helping farmers understand that a buyer has the right to buy what they want, and that it is also the responsibility of a farmer to understand what the buyer is buying. So we want to be able to explain that a little bit better. And then, just back to the basics, like what is basis and what are futures? So a little bit more on the getting back to understanding what we're actually doing in the industry and how to ask questions. And like I always say to people, there's no dumb question, because when I started in here, I didn't know what a bushel was. Like somebody said to me, what is a bushel? I'd be like, okay, well, hey, what is a bushel? So really the nitty gritty of back to basics, because I used to call my first time I called a farmer, I said to him like, hey, like what product do you have on the farm? And they were like, what the hell is this? Like, what do you mean product? Yeah. So I was as green as you could possibly be in the industry. And I want to be able to help people and know that they know that there's no dumb question to ask. Because that's what we work with some people who've never farmed before. We actually do get calls from people who their grandfather died and now they're taking over a farm. And there are questions that people are afraid to ask. And I want them to have an outlet to be able to call somebody and be like, okay, I've never farmed before. Can you explain to me, what it does mean when a truck of grain comes to get picked up? So we're as basic as that, and just having that outlet for people to be able to ask questions. And we're going to go through some of the more basic terms, but then of course, a little bit more into contracts and stuff like that.
Awesome. No, that sounds great, Suzanne. We all have to start somewhere, and I think even a refresher for folks as well. So look forward to you leading a breakout session, getting back to basics in some way, some degree, and yeah, you'll have a great group there working with you. So awesome. Appreciate that. I know I started buying grain. Same thing. I didn't know about buying grain. So my first week or two, might've been 2 weeks, they took my chair, put it beside Brad Morrow, who had been buying grain for a long time, and said, don't move. Just sit here and listen to what this guy says for the next 2 weeks. And I was like, all right, I had my notebook and I just sat beside Brad and just listened to everything Brad had to say. A lot of baloney, a lot of hot air coming out of Brad back then. But yeah. All right, Suzanne, thanks for joining me here on episode 90 of the What the Futures podcast. Yeah, when you warm up those 2026 bids for me, give me a call. I'll get some crop rankings out there, all right?
Will do.
All right, take care.
You too.